I could just get a Snapchat of all you guys saying woo at the same time. So I said 1, 2, 3, and you go woo, okay?
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Woo!
Thank you. My story. So yeah, I'm from WooThemes. My name is Magnus Jepson. This is Joel Bronkowski from all the way from California, but he now lives in Cape Town and then a bit in London. I'm not quite sure where you live. WooThemes. Yeah, I'm from Norway, so I'm in Norway, as Maria said. My background is actually I'm a programmer, so I started out in a company that makes a POS system for Elgiganten and Elkjøp in Norway. So you could say I have some kind of experience with e-commerce and commerce in itself, but actually none of that was really transferable because it was an ancient system. I don't know why they still use it, but it's really fast, so that's probably the main reason. I'm going to be talking a bit about the story of Woo today, how we kind of started the business back in 2007, 2008, and how we became to be acquired by Automatic. So first and foremost, I'd like to ask how many people actually know about WooThemes and WooCommerce. If you just raise your hand. That's probably everybody. That's good. That means I can kind of know who I'm talking to, and how many people know about Automatic in here? About half. So Automatic is the company running WordPress.com. WordPress.com and WordPress.org are obviously two different kind of sides to WordPress, with WordPress.com being the hosted version, and it's run by Automatic, who has the CEO, Matt Mullenweg, who is the founder of WordPress, who founded WordPress in 2003. So he's now my boss, actually. So that leads me to my next slide, which is the acquisition. So WooThemes was acquired by Automatic this year. We announced on May the 19th in New York in Matt Mullenweg's apartment, listening to jazz. WordPress or Automatic's goal is to democratize publishing. We all want it to be easy to have anybody create a blog and write the content that they want to show the world. And our goal is kind of to democratize e-commerce. We want it to be easy for people to sell anything online, and it's free to kind of set up their own website. So I'll get back to this in the end. I'll talk about why we sold the company after 7 years. But before that, I'll talk a bit about kind of where we started, and hopefully this can be a kind of inspiring story to you guys. And lots of you guys probably run a business today using WordPress as kind of the main tool for your business. So it's kind of where we started. We started because of WordPress. We love WordPress. It powers, like Maria said, 25% of the internet, which is quite kind of mind-blowing if you think about it. I got introduced to WordPress from a friend about 10 years ago. He was working on Expression Engine, if you know that system, and I just said I need something to put some news on my website which I'm building, and he said try WordPress, and I looked at WordPress and this looks cool, and I thought I could just like plug in a little PHP snippet and get the news to show on that page, but you actually had to build your whole website around WordPress. I'm like, that sounds really hard. But then I saw all these free themes, so I said, okay, let me try one of these free themes. And I knew how to kind of read PHP code and HTML, so I quickly understood, okay, this is actually quite simple to work with. And so I decided to kind of build a few free themes and kind of as a hobby while I was working at my old company. I did a few client projects. I made a website for my local golf club for free because they needed a new website. So I learned about WordPress by just modifying some free themes that I downloaded because there weren't many kind of premium themes back in 2006, 2007. So I was actually one of the first guys to start selling premium themes. I made a few themes and just added some extra functionality to it. So it kind of had that premium feel to it. And I got kind of a couple of sales every day. I got an email every time I got a sale, and it was like, holy shit, there's people buying stuff from me. And I had a salary, I had a job, but I saw kind of this potential there. So this led me to Premium News, which isn't made by me, it's made by a guy down in Cape Town called ADPNR, and he had a blog, and he was blogging about WordPress in 2006, 2007. He made Premium News, which is a kind of magazine theme. So you can see there's a few extra bits on there. There's the featured kind of area at the top. There's a nice little sidebar tab. There's some ads, and there's a video player there. So it's kind of like the free themes didn't offer this. So when I saw this, like, this is pretty cool. We should do more of this. So I kind of all basically started with an email. I like, why not? Just send him an email, say, hey, I like what you're doing. I'm also building a few themes, premium themes. Would you like to work together? And he answered in like 2 minutes, of course. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. So he said, why don't you just design something that looks similar to this, and I'll code it, or just port the code from this theme, and we'll sell it on his website. And I said, okay, cool. So I made a new design in about 2 hours, sent it to him, and then we started selling. And more of those kind of emails kept ticking in with, you have a new sale, $70. And I'm like, cha-ching. So shortly after that, a fellow from London, who was also from Cape Town actually, called Mark Forrester, also joined in, did exactly the same thing as me, just emailed 80. They were obviously from Cape Town, so they met and had a coffee, and he also was a designer, so he also made a theme, and we started selling. So suddenly we were 3 guys selling premium themes, and there was only about 1 or 2 other guys in the States actually doing the same thing. So this was kind of a new market for us, but we were astounded that nobody else was doing this, because we got so many kind of emails ticking in every day. And in the first month of this being out, we made like $12,000, and 80 was just out of college. And so it's pretty like, we have something here. Why hasn't anybody else done this before? So Premium News was kind of a lame name for a company. Our website was premiumnewstheme.com. It wasn't lame, but we couldn't expand on it. So we decided to kind of rebrand our company. And WooThemes kind of came about by us sitting on Skype, chatting, what should we call the company? So I just said, okay, what about WooThemes? So Woot is kind of the lead speak for hooray. So I thought that was cool, but if you put the 2 together and then remove the T, it becomes WooThemes. So, and they just said, yeah, we like it, let's go with it. And that's basically how easy it was to form the kind of new company name. So we launched the website on July 2008, and it looked like this. So basically this is just one of our themes that we had in 2008, and we just kind of branded it as our own website, which was kind of cool, because it's kind of like eating your own dog food. So if you made a product, it should be good enough for yourself to use it. So our customers love this. They always said, can I buy the theme that you're using on your website? And yeah, you can buy it. It's called Vibrant CMS. You can buy it on our website. So that was pretty cool. But at this time, we were still kind of like 2 freelancers, one in London, one in Cape Town. I was doing my normal job as a programmer. They were telling me, you need to quit your job. And I was like, I can't quit my job and like start working from home. Nobody does that, especially not in Norway, where everybody works in the oil business or somewhere else. So eventually they kind of, after 1 year of having worked with them, they managed to convince me. So I went to my boss and said, I wanted to try something else. Can I get like 2 months to work on this and see if it works out? And he said no. And then I'm like, shit, okay. And then I just said, okay, I need to try this out. So I quit. And obviously I had a fallback strategy of kind of being the freelance WordPress guru from Stavanger if this didn't work out, but luckily it did work out, so that led us to kind of, this is me on the left there, that's AD in the middle, and that's Mark on the right. That led us to kind of having this business, WooThemes. We met for the first time in London after 16 months after kind of sending that email, and we had not talked on the phone or Skype or anything before that. We only text chatted. So we actually built this company without even speaking to each other. We didn't know what our voices sounded like. So that was pretty kind of like, is this real? But when we first met, it was kind of like cool to see that we were a company. We were three guys who built this. And now we're kind of like even more excited to work together. And in 2009, we redesigned our website. This was then a custom theme. We didn't sell this because we wanted to be kind of exclusive. But we kind of got emails from customers every week saying, how can I buy the theme that you're using on WooThemes.com? And I said, no, you can't buy it anymore. But we kind of felt like we needed to distinguish ourselves a bit from our product. So this was about the time we hired our first two staff in 2009, a designer and a developer, and we also had some kind of helpers in the support forum, because obviously we got a lot of questions about how to set up the theme. We also kind of expanded it beyond kind of news themes, and we went into business, portfolio, kind of personal blogging themes, multimedia, video. So by 2010, we had almost 100 themes on WooThemes.com, which is quite a lot, but we were kind of the biggest premium theme shop out there until Envato came along and kind of started Theme Forest and made it possible for everybody to kind of get in on this kind of gold rush. We also tried to expand to Drupal, Magento, Expression Engine, but like it was like 1 or 2 sales, and we quickly saw that it was like focus on WordPress. This is what's big in the future. And by 2010, it was probably less than 10% of the whole internet on WordPress. I think in 2013 it was, 2011 it was 13%, I think. So it's kind of grown up quite quickly, WordPress as well. So one of the things that kind of, I believe, made WooThemes popular was we kind of always thought about branding. We called our kind of staff Woo Ninjas, and we had this ninja as a mascot, and kind of everything we try and do towards our customers is so that they can remember us, they can remember WooThemes. So this guy is called Hero, and he has, if you go to our website, you can kind of read the story of Hero, and we try and kind of bring him into the whole story of WooThemes as well. This is a map of all the automaticians, everybody who works in Automatic now, which is about 400 people. But before we were acquired, we were 55 people, and nobody had an office. We have an office down in Cape Town, but nobody really needs to go to it. There's about 2 or 3 people in there at any time. So that was kind of one of our strengths. We were a remotely distributed company. Nobody had to go to an office. We all work from home. We just needed a laptop. This isn't kind of common, especially in Scandinavia, to work from home and to be kind of that agile. So, and it's not really common with big companies either, like Automatic, 400 people, worth over $1 billion, and nobody goes to an office. It's kind of like, So Automatic actually have a book called A Year Without Pants, just because you don't actually need pants to go to work. It's quite an interesting book. You should definitely check that out. Like when we grew, we kind of hired more people, and my role started to change. I started out as a designer and developer, just designing themes, and suddenly I was told you're not allowed to code anymore because we've got developers on our team now betching you. I'm like, okay, what should I do then? But obviously, when you grow the team to 10, 20 people, you need to start managing people. So as a founder, your role changes all the time. So that's kind of like, you have to accept that change, otherwise your business isn't going to grow. So these are 2 of the kind of individual, unique people that we have working with us. On the left is Maria, and she is our, what's her title now, internal that's it, internal community manager. So she kind of she's been traveling around the US now for 2 or 3 years in her RV with her boyfriend, and she works from that RV. So that's kind of her office day to day. She just has a 4G dongle in her computer. So when you can have people like that working for you, you think like, how do we kind of know that they're actually working and not just out sightseeing? And that's where you have to have trust in your employees. You need to kind of trust that they have passion for what they do for the company they work for. So whenever we do an interview or like talk with people, we always look for that passion, and you need to kind of be a bit special to actually work by yourself as a kind of freelancer or whatever you're doing, compared to going to an office and having a boss come and look at your desk and say, is he working? I was like, yeah, okay, he's working, he's fine. But we don't do that, so we don't monitor people like that. On the right there is Mike Kraft. He's our resident firefighter, so he's actually a fireman in the States. But being a fireman, you only actually need to go out like once or twice a day, so you sit for 24 hours at the fire station, and when he's just sitting there, he's working on WooThemes. So kind of like a dual role, and he's now going to be a support person, to be our kind of head honcho over all our support staff. So it's pretty cool that you can have people, because he would never give up being a fireman, because it's one of his passions, but he would also never give up working for WooThemes, because it's the best of both worlds, and his job allows him to work for us. So that's kind of like cool to have those part of your team. So on to, there's no background on this, sorry about that, but so dark ninja. On to WooCommerce, which is now our biggest kind of product. So we transpired from being a themes company to being an e-commerce company around 2011, or maybe a bit later than that, but 2011 in September was when we started or launched WooCommerce. And so WooCommerce is basically just a plugin for WordPress which allows you to sell anything online. We tried to develop this ourselves in-house. We had more outsources to a few developers. We had about 4 developers we went through before we actually decided, look, we can't build it, it's too complex, we need to partner with somebody else. So we looked at the kind of WordPress ecosystem, and there was only a couple of plugins which allowed you to set up a website or web shop back then. One of them was WP e-commerce, which is still around today and a great plugin, but it was at version 3.8 or something, and it was kind of like so much legacy in there. So we met these 2 guys through, they'd actually made a few themes for us called app themes, so more kind of advanced themes which allowed you to do bug tracking and so forth. And we talked with these 2 guys, and we met them at a conference in the UK, and they had told us, like, you guys, we built this e-commerce plugin for WordPress, it's new, it's simple to use, and we're like, let's check it out. And when we saw this, it was like, holy shit, this is so good. It's simple, it's not like the ancient WP e-commerce. Let's see if we can partner with them. So we wanted to acquire that plugin because they built it for they've been working on it for 3 months or so, just launched it. And the company they work for as freelancers didn't want us to take this over. So there's a kind of a backstory to this. I won't go into details, you can read about that online. But we forked the plugin. So we basically took since it's GPL, we took the source code and made it to our own product. And so basically put it on GitHub so anybody could see it, anybody can contribute. And this is kind of like what made WooCommerce so popular in the beginning. We invited contributors. So we have Niklas from Krokodil here today. He's one of our first third-party developers who made lots of Swedish and Scandinavian payment gateways for us. Because as a company, when you've got 2 developers who built WooCommerce as a plugin, we haven't got the resources to build e-commerce kind of integrations for every single country around the world. So people like Nicholas saw this, oh, this is cool. I can build the Swedish ones and maybe some for Norway. And then we have people down in South Africa doing the same, and then in the States. So we're kind of inviting everybody to work with us on this project. And so this is also, Nicholas probably knows him, this is Brent Shepherd. He's from Australia, but he lives in San Francisco, and he made one of our biggest selling extensions to WooCommerce, which is called WooCommerce Subscriptions. And that's actually our top selling product today. It allows you to kind of sell anything on a subscription base through WooCommerce. And it's just this kind of inviting these third-party developers to take our ideas, which are open on our ideas board, and say, I want to build this. Will you allow me to build this? Of course. You can build it yourself and sell it on any marketplace you want, or you could actually sell it on our website and we'll give you a revenue share. So this led to kind of the gold rush. Can you see it? Yeah. So the gold rush was in 2011, 2012, when lots of people saw the opportunity to build something. It was shipping, tax, payment gateways, so many kind of functionalities to tackle in the e-commerce world. But that's kind of the power of both WordPress and open source, is that you have so many people that can actually contribute, and if there's some revenue incentive behind it, then obviously they'd spend more time on it. So the growth of kind of WooCommerce was in the first couple of months, which we didn't expect it to grow this much. So a bit of a backstory was that we developed WooCommerce to sell more themes. We wanted to sell more themes, but actually it kind of like backfired on us, and we sold more and more extensions. So in the beginning we had about 10 official themes and 20 official extensions, but just a year later we had quite a lot more third-party themes and third-party extensions and official extensions. So we saw kind of this growing ecosystem being built without us actually having to do anything, because this was an open source project just like WordPress is, and that's kind of like we adapted the same model, except WordPress doesn't have that paid marketplace. We allow people to sell through our website or sell on different marketplaces. So WooCommerce suddenly kind of grew up and started to take about 50-60% of our revenue stream. So we saw we kind of had to shift our whole company towards e-commerce, which was hard at times, but also kind of like there was something real there and something big. So our next kind of big event was in August 2013, when one of our founders, Eddie from Cape Town, wanted to exit the business. He kind of felt that we'd gotten to a stage where we were about 26 employees, and he wanted to go on and do his next startup. He felt that we'd gotten to a size that we kind of didn't need so much help from us at the top anymore, and it was more of a kind of behemoth with WooCommerce in the background. So obviously this was tough for us. It felt like a divorce, but we had kind of empowered Joel and 3 other guys on our leadership team, so we felt pretty safe in New Mark having these guys by our side. So we said, look guys, we don't want to exit the business, we want this to kind of continue. We're not kind of finished seeing this through. So this is one of our Woo trips, which happened shortly after Eddie exited. This was in the Netherlands, and we were about 28 people then. So talk shortly about Woo trips. So being a distributed company, you need to kind of meet face to face. So often we used conferences to meet each other, but we also felt that was a bit kind of short, and you often just sat there listening to other people instead of kind of meeting with yourself. So we made kind of these Woo trips, which is about 1 week of us getting together and a bit of drinking and whatnot. So we've been in the Alps, to Cape Town, to London, Netherlands, and last year we went to San Francisco. We also had our first conference in San Francisco called the WooConf, which is also being hosted next year in Austin in March. So you should definitely go there if you're into WooCommerce. So just back to the growth again on WooCommerce, we kind of went from hundreds of thousands of downloads to millions of downloads. So by 2014, we're up to 5 million downloads. So we're like, holy shit. We're on the kind of top list of free plugins on WordPress.org and seeing this growth. And now 85% of our revenue was from WooCommerce. So we've kind of done a 180 on our business. And lots of people outside of the WordPress community took notice of this. It's kind of like e-commerce is bigger than WordPress. So this led us to last year at IRCE, which is a big conference in Chicago, and we traveled there with the leadership team just to kind of get a sense of what's outside WordPress community, because we've mainly been traveling to WordCamps and just speaking at WordPress conferences, and this was kind of like, holy shit, there's so much to this e-commerce space that we don't know about, and this was the first chance for us to kind of meet different partners for the first time, and we kind of saw the opportunity we had here, but we were like, we're just a small company, everybody works from home with no pants on, how can we tackle this whole e-commerce system marketplace? We'd always been bootstrapped, we'd never taken money from any investor, so how can we we'd obviously taken lots of market share, but how can we remain kind of growing in this space? So this led Mark to having a meeting with a venture capital company, because we thought, should we just meet them and see what they've been sending us emails for a couple of years saying, hey guys, I know you're not maybe interested in money right now, but would you like to talk? If you're ever interested in money, just come and talk to us. We got about 20 contacts on our list, but we kind of never, we said, no, we're proudly bootstrapped, we don't need any money, but this was a time when 80 had just been bought out. We used obviously the company capital to buy him out, and we thought, okay, so how do we get from being about 30 employees to 50, 60 employees, and how do we establish ourselves? So we thought the best thing was to actually have a little chat with these venture capital companies and see what kind of network they could bring, and if adding capital to our company was the right thing to do. So Mark Forrester, my co-founder, he was in New York in July 2014. That's the picture from on top of the Google headquarters, which one of the venture capital companies took us to, or took him to. And he explained about WooThemes and how we work in WooCommerce. And he then got, the next day he got a slide deck. So typically when you talk to an investor, you need to present your business to them and show a slide deck. But it was the other way around here. So they actually presented a slide deck to us about how good they would be for our company, which is kind of weird, because it's one of the top VC companies in the States, or in the world. So I was at the time in Alaska with my dad, going out on a fishing expedition for 1 week. And I kind of sat there in the bar and I got an email from Mark, and he said, look, they showed us this slide deck and here's the term sheet. It's only like a couple of days after meeting him, and the term sheet had the numbers in there for millions of dollars. I'm like, holy shit, this is way more than I actually thought we were worth. So what does this mean? I actually went out 1 week fishing and just like, all I could think about was this term sheet. And so for the next few months, we kind of felt like these two guys, I don't know if you've seen Silicon Valley, but you should definitely check that show out. We sat there with this VC company, trying to figure out what the future of WooThemes and WooCommerce will be. We went through a due diligence process with them, which is pretty thorough. They go through everything. They go through our revenue. They try and kind of base what the future revenue is going to be like, and we were kind of like asking, what's the end goal here? Why would we take funding now? Obviously to get money, but if we can just do it ourselves, why not just do it ourselves? And then we thought, okay, maybe we can accelerate growth, but what would the end goal of the VC be? Would they kind of want to sell the company in 5 years? Would they want to go public? And we didn't like the idea of being a public company in 5 to 7 years. Like, we were hardly wearing pants, so how do we do that? So we thought the best thing to do was kind of, if we were going to be acquired in 5 years' time, why not talk to our dream acquirer right now? And that was Automatic. So we've been obviously chatting with Automatic over the years, kind of just because they were the biggest company making money off WordPress via WordPress.com. And we thought, okay, what a dream partnership, because we're on WordPress.org, we cover all of that marketplace, but what would it mean to get WooCommerce onto WordPress.com? So we always had that dialogue going back and forth, and then they realized we were talking to a venture capital company, and they said, stop, don't do anything. And we were like, okay, do you want to invest in us instead? And they said, no, we don't want to invest in you, we want to buy you. I'm like, buy us? But why not just invest? And they said, no, we need to own the e-commerce marketplace, market space. And we kind of thought, well, we don't want to sell, and then we had to kind of go into this cocoon thinking mode for about 2 months, and then realized, like, but we want the same thing. So by being bought out, we will then have more time to kind of focus on growing the business. We've got an arsenal of highly skilled developers at Automatic that could come over and work for us or work on our team, and we kind of never had the threat of Automatic building out an e-commerce competitor to WooCommerce. So in May 2015, in Matt Mullenweg's apartment, Matt is in the middle there wearing a Woo shirt. We were listening to jazz, and we pressed publish on kind of breaking the news to the internet, and we kind of felt like, okay, now we've made it, because now we were in with the kind of the cool people who built this big WordPress.com conglomerate, and we could now finally focus on expanding outside WordPress, and that's basically where we're at now. We're working on the integration part, obviously getting our team integrated into Automatic, because we're always going to be kind of want to feel like we're Woo, but also want to feel like we're part of Automatic. We kind of have that goal of for the future. What goals do we have? We want to obviously not reveal too much, but we are working on better ways to integrate WordPress.com with WooCommerce and the whole ecosystem. And if some of you guys know about WordPress.com and Automatic, they all already have something called Jetpack, which does kind of integrate WordPress.org with WordPress.com. And we want to try and maybe focus a bit on that in the beginning, kind of tying in your WordPress.org site or WooCommerce site into WordPress.com, where it's more easy to manage your whole kind of website and web shop. But like we've been toying around with, should we compete with the big ones, Shopify, not Magento. Magento is our kind of, Joel will probably talk a bit more about that, but Shopify and BigCommerce are big hosted versions of an e-commerce platform. But are we going to compete with them? I don't know if that's the right move for us or the right market. We kind of have this established open source market, and our goal is just to kind of make everything better for our customers. So, for example, Niklas is doing payment gateways. We're thinking about ways of making it easier for the customer to choose payment gateways and choose shipping, so they don't have to figure out all of this stuff by themselves, but they can actually just get in there, and all of that stuff is just delivered based on their location or their shop location. So small things to kind of improve what we already have, and I think kind of the future is bright for us in Automatic and WooCommerce. And Joel is now going to talk a bit more about how we kind of our marketplace and how we are kind of dominating that marketplace of e-commerce. So that was it for me. Questions we can do at 4:30, I think it is. Yeah. No problem.
Cool. All right, so I'm from California originally, from LA, and after living there in the same place for my first 23 years, I took a trip to South Africa and kind of never looked back. I lived there for 8 years and met my wife there. As Magnus mentioned, being a remote company is a pretty cool thing, especially when you have a wife that is aspiring to be a curator. So earlier this year we decided to take advantage of that, and we lived in Istanbul while she worked at a museum there for 3 months, and then we headed over to Washington, D.C. for 3 months where she worked at the Smithsonian. And as mentioned, we just moved to London, that's where we're based, and she's doing her master's degree there. Together we co-authored, although I've only written one blog post, a site called Two Cats at Moms. It's just our travel blog, and there's our 2 cats. Sadly though, while we were in DC, one of our cats died, so can't read it there. We might need to change our name to One Cat at Moms. This is my first time to Sweden, and due to some basically bad planning on my side, I had planned a trip to Venice this past weekend, so I had the pleasure of trying to figure out how to get here in time, and I flew back to London Stansted last night, and then the only direct flight I could get was into, how do you pronounce that, Skavsta? And got in, flight was late, got in about 11:45 at night, and had the joys of driving an hour and 15 minutes here. So what I learned was that, well, Skavsta isn't very close, that's one thing. Sweden is very cold. I'll stop complaining about London. And, well, you guys have really good roads and radio stations. I'll say that. So, on to a more relevant topic. My journey with WooCommerce is very different than Magnus's, being that I joined a lot later. I initially actually got started in 2012 using WooCommerce myself. I had a job at the time in South Africa, but was, I don't know, not feeling like my career was in the best place, and decided to just take matters in my own hands and start importing cheap iPhone cables from China in different colors, hence Color Products name. Only thing was, they weren't very good quality. So make sure that you, if you're selling online, sell good product. But luckily that led me to a job at WooThemes, which happened to have our one office in Cape Town. And kind of came in at a really good time. If you look at this chart, we just started, this was back in, it's actually from late 2013, early 2014, but just started to get data from a third-party service called BuiltWith that showed us right on the heels of Magento, which, as Magnus mentioned, was surprising. I mean, we launched WooCommerce as a way to sell more themes. We had no idea it would take off like this. So what we did, and part of my role early on, I was a business analyst, just was intrigued by these stats and realized that understanding our user base would really help us build this platform. So we started digging into it and running these lists. We were able to identify some larger businesses that were using WooCommerce, which is really cool, and get a better feel for where our users were and kind of what they were doing. So today, I know we're running a little bit short on time, so I'll try to move pretty quickly, but I'm just going to talk through my journey a little bit, some of the things that we've been a part of at Woo in kind of using data, leveraging partners, and then my thoughts on how did we get here? Like, what's actually driving this growth? Is it just luck? Is it whatever, And I'll try to put my finger on that, but I think it's a lot of things. So, as Magnus mentioned, when we launched WooCommerce, we had a couple of devs working on it, and in part of the open source nature and just building out kind of a stakeholder environment, we let in a lot of qualified third-party developers to build extensions for us. And like Niklas, like other people in different countries, sometimes, well, most of the time, people in unique markets would know the products that WooCommerce needed. So opening that up was really advantageous to us and enabled us to just build a whole bunch of products. Magnus also mentioned, AD, the CEO, stepped out of his role, and I was the most kind of sales-oriented person, so I naturally got thrown into conversations with companies that started approaching us, because as these stats were published, people were banging down the doors to talk to us. And one of the first calls that I had was with Amazon Payments, which wasn't a very popular payment service, but coming from not really, I had some e-commerce experience, but when Amazon wants to talk to you and you're not used to, you don't even know what these companies want, it was pretty scary. to be honest. And what came out of this call was we had built all these products, we had built all these integrations, but we never included those e-commerce companies as part of our strategy. So most of the time, if you talk to an Amazon or you talk to whoever, PayPal, they actually don't even know that we're sending them as much business as we are. And we didn't even look at it that way. I guess the other side of it was just that they could help us build better products and also market on our behalf, market our products and market WooCommerce. So that was pretty exciting, and it led to this kind of phase of who else should we be talking to, and both companies that are approaching us and companies that we have these integrations built to. And I make our logo so tiny there because if you look around that attempt at a circle, those are big companies, and we were a tiny company, or we are a tiny company. So I kind of look at it as kind of standing on top of giants, like picking the right people that we can work with that are going to help us actually look better. And also just claiming what we had already done, or what we had done together with a lot of people. Like we had built some amazing integrations. And this helped us kind of globally as well, not just in like growing or making money, but just understanding what users need in certain markets. And also led to some research. So this is a very ugly Excel spreadsheet, but I wanted to kind of figure out if building local extensions had anything to do with how successful WooCommerce was. So right, we had all this data on theme sales, which should give us some indication of how many people in those countries like WordPress or WooThemes. So what would it do if they have a lot of payment gateways? And I think the biggest anomaly there is Finland. This is data from like 2 years ago, so it doesn't matter, but Finland had 4 local payment gateways. In themes, they were our 23rd largest market, but with WooCommerce, they were our 9th largest market. Opposed to that, you'd have Germany, who had only 2 local solutions. Normally was number 6 in sales and dropped down to number 8. So just some interesting kind of learnings there as we grew. And then the other thing we started to do is, I don't think we talked about our business model that much, but we sell all these add-ons, right? So WooCommerce is free, WordPress is free, but then to build your site, you need to buy this and that to get where you need to go. So what we started to do is play with the price points a little bit to make WooCommerce easier for people to get started, cheaper for people to get started, especially in countries where $79 is a lot of money. Well, $79 might be a lot of money to a lot of us, but in South Africa, $79 is a lot. So we worked with the company PayFast. They're like the equivalent of the PayPal in South Africa, and made their extension free. And that's the download rate. It went up by about 10 times. The actual user rate was about 3 times growth. So really exciting, and that's helped us grow South African market quite a bit, because people are thinking, I don't know if this business is going to succeed, just like I did, but if it's free, I'll try it out. We also started just working with different partners and countries to do marketing that was, I guess, not just salesy, right? Like we built a post-Netherlands integration and marketed just to that group, and we've started to do more of that kind of stuff. As Magnus mentioned, heading out to kind of the big leagues, IRCE was just that. It's this brand new space with all these big companies, and I remember being so scared, actually. Like, it's one thing to talk on the phone, but then to meet all those people in person. But just another big step for us to actually realize we do belong in this space. And then our conference, being part of that, probably the scariest thing I've ever done with dealing with big budgets and trying to get people involved, and it ended up being a really huge success. So that was huge. We've launched some meetups. I guess the underwriting theme with all this stuff is people. Like, I'm not a great business person. I have some instincts, but it's actually, if you have a passion for something and you care about it and you're doing something really cool, just go do it. Meet people, connect people, figure out how to do things that make sense that can benefit everyone. So I'd say we've gone from being a tiny company to being part of really huge things, like, and trying to do things of significance. A lot of times it's felt like David and Goliath, like, who are we to do this? But I think the more that you do it and you overcome your fears, it's pretty cool to grow in whatever you're doing. This is some of the stats real quick, kind of where we are. Maybe a little bit hard to read, it'd be better in a line graph, but today we're at almost 1 million sites, 30% of the internet, 10 million plus downloads. And if you go back a little bit more than a year, we were at 250,000 sites, 3.5 downloads. So the rate of growth is really crazy. Within WordPress, this is kind of old data as well, probably about 6 months old, but really the most popular, not the only WordPress e-commerce solution, but definitely the most popular. And then here's just some kind of stats over time with other platforms. We're kind of leading the pack. Magento would be second. So real quickly, I'll go through this. I know lunch is in 5 minutes. So what is the kind of secret behind this? I'd say our growth is parallel to WordPress. WordPress is now 25%. We wouldn't be anywhere without WordPress. I would say, WooCommerce is built into WordPress. It's easy to use. It's part of WordPress.org. And within WordPress.org, there's thousands of free plugins that people are just building. They can do whatever they want. It helps our platform, but we don't make any money from that. Magnus mentioned contributions. We have WooCommerce being translated into 71 languages. I think it's over 250 contributors. And trying to do this with building your own team would be impossible. And that just speaks to the power of open source software, kind of putting it out there and letting people run with it. Within our own extension marketplace, 400, we've got some really cool custom extensions that if you were to try to do the equivalent of what that extension does on a Shopify, you would need to subscribe to services for that, which would cost a lot more money. Additionally, these hosted solutions, if you're a small business, usually charge you extra payment fees, whereas with ours, like you build your site, you're good to go. Our support team, I think mentioned it earlier, but having local third-party devs that can make money as they grow with us is really huge. Even other marketplaces, Magnus mentioned ThemeForest. There's many. I learned about another one in Germany called MarketPress. Like, there's a lot of other marketplaces doing WooCommerce stuff, and in a way that really helps the overall platform. Within Sweden, this is the growth we've seen over time. So today we're at 6,200, 43 sites. I wish I had older data going back further, but pretty awesome growth. And I have a little bit of an announcement. I think it's pretty exciting. But Klarna will be free soon. We're making it free. It is $79. That's really exciting news. Can't give you a date, hopefully in the next month or so. But that's hopefully good news for any of you that are using WooCommerce. Hey! So real quick, issues or my thoughts on the future of WooCommerce. I think some issues that we're facing, I think a perception issue in general with WordPress. People sometimes see it as a small business only thing, or would say WooCommerce doesn't scale. We know those things aren't true, but when you go to e-commerce conferences and you see the way that Magento has associated themselves to enterprise and has built relationships and a partner program that works with these big agencies, and then you think about your large companies, it's almost more about them finding the right talent to trust to get the job done. It's almost not as much about the product, and I think that's a big issue that WooCommerce will have to overcome. Product needs, there's still a lot of things that we haven't addressed. Like, I don't think on our extension marketplace we have a CRM tool yet. We don't have that many point of sale integrations. We don't have many ERP integrations. There's a lot of crucial things to businesses, and especially large businesses, that we just haven't addressed yet, and I hope that we do soon. I think affordability, I think we are affordable, but I think there's a lot more we could do, especially like payment stuff and some of these services to make it more affordable and not have to have people pay for an add-on and the service. And then Magnus mentioned real quick at the end, like, what can we do to make it easier for people to use WooCommerce? I don't know if it's a hosted solution or building some services to just make it easier, maybe shipping within WooCommerce, but that would be my thoughts there. So thank you guys for listening. Hopefully we'll get to hear some questions and meet you guys Really cool to be here. Thank you.